Okay, we're fixing to get started with this abdomen treatment. Stomachs are my favorite. Stomach treatments are my favorite next to with therapy. So looks like the lighting from this camera right here is a little bit better. So I'm glad I've got this one at this angle. So you guys can see, we don't have a lot of fat, but we've got enough to pinch. I also noticed when we were outside that Kim has a little bit of fluid on her tummy, which will be good for the vacuum. So, now if you guys can see or not, I've got my little blue straps here under her. I'm actually going to adjust this one, bring it up a little bit. Getting ready to do pad placement on her. So we're going to do pad placement, and then I'm also going to show you guys what how we would position the new shape belt for those of you who have the new shape. I may be using my blue and white pad machine possibly so that I can show a double row of pads. I feel that this is really important if you have the pads to cover, because when we're doing an abdominal treatment, a lot of times we have, fat, over this entire area here. So when we're just putting a few pads right here, we're not really, targeting the full abdominal area. So when it's appropriate, I will do double row pads. So the first thing that you always want to get in the habit of doing as soon as your client lays on the bed is cleaning the skin. Yes, I do clean the skin with alcohol. I know a lot of people are concerned that will dry out the skin, but I can assure you, with the amount of glycerin and aloe and massage oil that goes onto the skin during these treatments, the little bit of alcohol that we use to clean the skin is not going to be really drying for the client. If for some reason you can't use alcohol on the client, you can use witch hazel. The purpose of this is because you guys remember whenever we were going over cavitation, and I was telling you guys that cavitation has the ability to push anything from the surface of the skin a little bit deeper into the skin. We need to clean it so that our clients don't end up with any little bumpy rashes or anything like that. Those are a lot of times those little red rashes, the little bumps and things. People don't really discuss it, but a lot of times those are like dirt rashes. So we want to clean the skin. Skin's nasty. And then what we're going to do is secure our binders so that we can just slide the pads right underneath them without having to fumble with securing these after the pads are on. And you guys see I have double rows here. These things, I'm sorry guys, my little top pad here, it's looking a little rough. I've had it for a long time. The washing machine can be really hard on these. So carts with wheels are essential. You're going to be constantly moving your machines. You don't want to be struggling with cord length. My recommendation for carts is going onto Amazon and looking at kitchen carts. This cart right here is a kitchen cart. This cart right here is a kitchen cart. both of these carts were under $60 and they hold my machines perfectly. I did have a great big bulky one in here, but it just took up too much space and it was too hard to move. So I took it out and put some of these smaller ones in here. Okay, bottom row of pads, we want for the cords to go down so that when we're doing the double row of pads, the cords aren't meeting each other. It's just going to be more comfortable for the client and a better placement. So you're just going to slide your pads in under the belt here. You can space them out evenly, about a ½ inch or an inch or so, depending on how many that you have. Make sure and check with your clients that, you know, the pads aren't digging into their hip bones or anything like that. And I slide one in right over here on this hip. I'm going to adjust these. This is another reason why a standalone pad machine is good. They come with so many pads. Like you know, you can do this. Where do you get the machine with just the pads on it? This machine is listed in the Body Contouring Bible with the model number in the back of the book. This machine was, I want to say, right at $500. It is a 160 pad machine. It is a good little low level light therapy machine too. I've had it for a while. It gives me results that are, you know, just as good as my pink 160 pads here. Usually in this treatment room, I have two of my blue and white machines side by side so that I can use both sets of pads together. But when I took out like my big cart, there wasn't quite enough room to fit my other blue machine on top of this. So now I just moved this one around to where I need it. I've had to do some rearranging with machines in the studio, because we've got machines in other treatment rooms. So we're going to slide these top pads here in from the top. My little belt isn't wanting to stick as good, so I'm fumbling with it a little bit. These cords are something else. They get tangled really, really quick. I haven't found an effective way to keep them from getting tangled other than just fixing the cords daily. I'm just making sure they're even here across the top. Okay, I've got a good even spread here. These little baby ones, because they're going to be lit up anyway, I just typically take them and slide them in little empty spaces here along the top, just so I don't have to worry about covering them to keep the light from shining my client's eyes. So once I get the pads completely on, then I turn my pads on. And you always use solid light. So typically my minimum pad time on an abdomen is going to be 30 minutes. Depending on the time frame and how much I like the client, we could go up to, 40, 45 minutes. But for your minimum time, 30 minutes is a good time frame for your low level light therapy. And I've got her lit up under here right now. You can kind of see that the pads are lit up. So which machine do you prefer to have? The pink and blue or the white and blue? Well, I like my blue and white machine right here because it's got my, cavitation and my RF and everything on it. And it automatically comes with the 160 pads. The laser lipo machine, doesn't have any of the handles on it. So, for me, I felt like I needed to have both because I needed the extra pads. And however, like if I were to purchase another pad machine, I would just get another one of these individual pad machines, where that's the only treatment on it. I had a male client. He's a very, very large man. And I actually, to cover his abdomen, required 32 pads. So I used every pad that I had in the studio. And, I was prepared to treat him. So I don't think you can have too many low-level light therapy pads. So I've got her all padded up here. We're going to assume that she's been on the pads for 30 minutes. I'm going to remove these because I also want to show you guys real quick how you would do the new shape belt. The new shape belt only has a max time setting of 20 minutes. And I'm quite sure that is because of the amount of diodes. There are 300 diodes on that belt, which is way more than what I could ever possibly have on these pads. I don't know, I may end up buying another new shape belt. I may end up buying a couple of them. So, if I needed to wrap legs, I could wrap legs. If I needed to, double row the light on the abdomen, I would have more than one belt. I like having several different options for treatment. Some things are easier to use with some people, versus just different body types and things. So that's just something that happens over time. It kind of becomes a little bit of an addiction, buying things for your business, new things that you want to try. Yes, Helena, the blue and white machine, the 9-in-1. Okay, hold on a second. My machine model should not have the hot and cold hammer on it. My machine model should not have the hot and cold hammer on it. Are your handles silver or are they black? Because if you have the black handles, it's not my machine model. There are a lot of cases that look like this case, but they're not all the same model, if that makes any sense. Mine is the YHO. Oh, the model number is listed in my book, but yeah, mine does not. I'm sitting here, I'm looking, Helena, at what you've got there. Yeah, I'm not sure. You've got some different attachments than I do. Pick up those handles and let me see the bases of them. Are they black or silver? Take your cavitation handle out of the holder and show it to me. Okay. All right. So it looks like that you just got a model that maybe includes the hot and cold hammer. So the hot and cold hammer is used a lot for facials. So hot opens the pores and cold closes the pores. Cold is also really good for inflammation, puffiness in the face, things like that, estheticians use the hot and cold hammers a lot. All right, so new shape belt. Okay, for anybody that has the new shape belt, I want to show you guys how much this baby lights up. If you were using the new shape belt or another light device in place of, I recommend, okay, I'm going to say it again, I don't necessarily recommend these light devices from Alibaba. They get too hot. I don't think they're the right wavelength. I think those devices are actually for pain and inflammation and not for fat reduction. So what I'll do is just kind of get it tucked in here a little bit around her on this side. And then I'm just going to tuck it in a little bit over here. Roll to me just a little bit, baby. All right. So you see, I've just kind of got it tucked there so that it's kind of snug to her. And the little on button is right here. It's connected to this little cord right here. So I'm just going to turn it on and set my timer to 20 minutes. And I just want to show you guys something. Hold on, let me get over here. Wait, no, I'm on the right side. Okay, I'm just going to show you guys something really quick. Look at this baby. Guys, that is 300 doves. So this is one of the things that you could, if you wanted to do the vibration plate in combination with the low-level light therapy, you could actually, you know, attach this belt, or if you have these on the pads, during your pad time, if you know, choose to put your clients on the vibration plate, it will improve the effectiveness of your treatment. Also applying, you know, the green tea spray to the skin and allowing it to dry before we put the low-level light therapy. I just wanted you to see, I wanted you guys to see how like bright this device is and how many lights it has on it. And I'm also going to show you guys a comparison real quick. All right. Let me grab one of these right here. You know what? I'll just get this big old lipo mat out. Hold on just a second. All right. Because this seems to be like the thing that, this lipo mat seems to be like the thing that everybody just like freaks out about. They're like, oh, I want that. And I was the same way, that's why I bought it. But this is the device that you see a lot of people laying on whenever they are having treatment done. And this looks really exciting because look at all of these lights here. But when you inspect these diodes up close, there is something different about them. And this thing gets more hot than a heating pad. That's just not typical of the wavelength that we use. It is typical for like pain and inflammation. So I don't think that this thing right here, as excited as I was, my results from it, where low-level light therapy is concerned, they declined. They did not get better versus the pads or this new shape belt. Can we still use the pads on the blue machine after using the new shape? No. No, the new shape, you're either going to use the new shape or the pads as a step in treatment. You're not gonna, you know, backdoor your low-level light therapy time because you would be outside of your treatment window of the amount of time that you should be utilizing the low-level light therapy. So you need to pick one or the other. depending on the client that you're treating, whichever you prefer. All right. I keep a roll of Viva paper towels close to me. I love these. They're super soft. They're very absorbent. And before I get ready to do a treatment, because we get gel and all types of things everywhere, it gets all over the client's clothes, I will tuck this into their pants to try to keep from making a mess. Okay. And raise up your back for me, baby. Just bridge for me. All right, I'm gonna slide these out. You guys can see underneath her, I've got a chuck pad. This is a disposable bed pad. They're super absorbent. I like these because if certain solid surface things under the client, if you get gel everywhere, it's just kind of cold and sticky while they're sitting there laying in it, and these actually help to absorb some. So Helena, are you talking about the new shape? I think in the manual it said after 20 minutes, let rest for 10 minutes. Yeah, so you need to follow the recommended treatment with the new shape. But I don't recommend, you know, combining. I don't recommend backdooring the pads with the new shape. Like, you're either going to do the new shape and you can follow the protocol, you know, on the area, or you can do the pads and then move on to your next treatment. But I wouldn't backdoor both. Okay. Move my stuff around a little bit. Get this out of the way. And I'm going to bring this over a little closer. There we go. All right. Okay, my protocol is heat it, break it, drain it. Most people that are in the group know that already, but if there is anybody on the training that is not in the group, I follow a treatment protocol of low-level light therapy. Yes, you can treat a large area. So you can treat, somebody asked, can the belt be placed on the back fat rolls while the pads in the machine are on the front? Absolutely. Yeah, so you can apply low-level light therapy to any other areas of the body, like simultaneously. You just don't want to overdo your low-level light therapy time in one area, like in general. So yes, you can treat the back with the new shape belt. If there is an issue with needing some help with the fat reduction on the back while you treat the front with the pads, there's absolutely no issue with that. So on the treatment order, I follow the heat it, break it, drain it method, with the understanding that collagen production actually does not happen for 8 to 10 days. So I kind of just want to go over real quick a few myths and things that I have come across. So the reason for the heat it, break it, drain it method. Why do I do radio frequency at the beginning of my treatment instead of after my vacuum for skin tightening? This is why. Radio frequency does not only have skin tightening abilities, It is also a fat reducer, so it will actively open fat cells as it is working and allow the contents to spill out into the extracellular area. So the reason why I do not use radiofrequency at the end of my treatment is because I spend quite a bit of time cleaning up my area with my vacuum. And the whole purpose of me using my vacuum is to move everything onto the lymphatic portal so that I can get the best results possible. So for me, knowing that collagen production actually doesn't happen for 8 to 10 days, it makes no sense to me to come in and do my vacuum to clean up my area entirely and then come behind it with the radio frequency and create yet another mess in the area that has not been cleaned. This is the logic behind that treatment method. Okay, everybody just hold on to your seats for a second while I explain this logic. The reason why treatment is being taught to do radio frequency after the vacuum is because people believe that the vacuum can stretch out the skin. So I just want to explain something to everybody very quickly about how that works. First of all, for skin to be stretched from its actual form, it needs to undergo some form of trauma. So not only would you need to be so aggressive with the vacuum, likely more aggressive with the vacuum than what our settings will even allow, you would actually have to have so much power that you created a separation in the tissue somewhere. So there's absolutely no factual logic behind that. You're not going to stretch your skin out by doing vacuum therapy. If that were the case, all of these butt lifts that we do where we are growing the muscle, or when people go and get like cupping therapy and things like that, their skin would be droopy and saggy in all of these areas if we had the ability to stretch the skin with the vacuum. Furthermore, the vacuum is used in its proper form in a very gentle way. So for me, the logic behind using radio frequency first scientifically made more sense than an invented method based on the logic of you have to do this way because it will stretch the skin out. Because for me, just being a very minimally educated person, I realized that really doesn't make a lot of sense. So for me, it makes the most sense to do the RF at the start of the treatment because it follows our body's natural fat elimination process, which is part of what I discussed yesterday about how, you know, when our body gets ready to eliminate fat, the first thing that happens is an increase in blood flow and heart rate, and that raises the body temperature internally. And that must happen before our body starts to release, you know, the contents of these fat cells, you know, in combination with a lot of muscle contractions and movements that help to, you know, manipulate this fat in the subcutaneous layer. So that is the reason for my method. So just in case anybody questions, you know, well, I've seen so many people that do the, you know, the RF at the end of their treatment. That is not the protocol that I teach. I am completely and totally obsessive compulsive. So I could never allow one of my students, like, you know, to operate their vacuum and spend so much time doing such a beautiful treatment with their vacuum and then just come behind it with their radio frequency and just entirely defeat the whole purpose of the vacuum. So that is, for anybody that's wondering, that is my best explanation for why I choose to follow this method and for the reason for why I teach it. So hopefully that makes sense, like, so that people can understand the reason for the treatment order. So now that we have removed the pads, we are going to get ready to do our radio frequency treatment. Typically, I will be operating the radio frequency for about 15 to 18 minutes on the abdomen. This could be different with every client. So you really need to pay attention to the response that you're getting from the skin, you know, the color change in the skin. If you are noticing that your client is really, really taking and absorbing the heat, the skin might be starting to look a little bit pink. You know, you might want to use an infrared thermometer to check the temperature in the area. And you could very possibly, you know, be at a point to where you don't need to go the rest of the time on that radio frequency. A minimum time that I would recommend do an RF on any area would be 10 minutes. The reason why is because I've tested different machines, and I know that some machines require that amount of time to even get the skin to temperature. So minimum of 10 minutes is a good rule of thumb. Anything over that, you know, if we're moving into the 15 to 18 to 20 minutes on the radio frequency, just pay close attention to the skin. We're going to be touching our clients a lot, so we're going to be able to feel that temperature also. I know that the camera is backwards right now, but I just want for you guys to know that when you see me doing these little circular motions here when I'm rubbing her tummy, just know that I'm moving in a clockwise motion. I'm very touchy and feely with my treatments. I'm constantly touching my clients. If you are that way, make sure that these little movements that you're making here around the belly button are clockwise motions. Multiple repeated massaging motions in the opposite direction, you know, could affect bowel movement. So, you know, when we're working, you just want to operate. If you're using your hands during treatment, you know, we are going to always be going in a clockwise motion around the belly button. So right now I'm applying my glycerin mixture. You guys know I have a magnesium additive in my glycerin. I put a lot of glycerin. The more you have on the skin, the better it distributes the heat. This is a good time also to start talking about the power of our hands in treatment. Any area of the body that I work on, not only this is going to separate you from the rest. This is a part here that you really want to listen to. Any area of the body that I'm working on, when I'm getting ready to start a treatment, I am always going to use my hands to work along the directional paths that are on the vacuum map that is in the portal. These are lymphatic directions. So not only am I stimulating by just applying. Hello.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey guys, everybody mute their mic. I think somebody's got their mic unmuted. So whenever I'm working, I'm constantly doing gentle hand motions, following some of those treatment directions. Any gentle stretch on the skin will signal capillaries to open to receive extracellular fluid coming from the tissue. So I will, you know, use my hands to kind of guide some of that. If everybody wants to just think for a second about that picture of the lymphatic system, just to kind of give you an idea, we have like a trunk right here, and there's quite a few little branches coming off this way, going up to the armpits. And then this trunk here, it kind of branches out into these two big limbs that comes down here towards the groin. So when we are doing these stimulating hand movements, this top area here, if you're wondering where you should move and where you should go, take a look at not only your vacuum directional chart, but just take a look at the lymphatic system. She has a swollen lymph node. That's not my department, but I can feel it. It's right here. It feels like a little BB under the skin. Yeah, she's got a little swollen lymph node right there. So your directional hand movements, you know, you're going to be guiding this way from the top while we're stimulating. And just imagine for a second, I was giving you guys the reference about the sponge full of water. And that is exactly how I want for you to look at the skin. When we are getting ready to do these treatments, I want you to imagine that the skin is like a sponge full of water. And so we're very gently just applying stroking motions with our hands to help move some of that extracellular fluid. So we're just kind of helping it find its way to its lymphatic location so that it can get onto the lymphatic system. Right now, it's not even on the lymphatic system. It's just lingering in the tissue. So doing these motions here, in between each treatment that we do, will help improve our immediate visual results. But you do need to make sure that your motions are gentle. If you have a very aggressive touch, you need to lighten that up some, because this is a very gentle, like I want you to imagine, you know, like if your baby's upset and they lay their head on your chest and you're really trying to just calm them, you know, the way that you would rub their face. It is a very gentle rubbing motion. I'm just going to apply a little bit more glycerin now because I've rubbed a bunch of it into her skin. And while I was doing that, guess what else I did? I gave this RF probe time to heat up. It takes, oh, hold on, I knocked my power cord out, guys. Here we go. Sorry, my power cord came out. There we go. Body RF. Okay. Your directional movements with the radio frequency. So if we are working with a client that has very, very wrinkly skin and we're really trying to help, you know, tighten up the skin areas, you remember what I told you about how you can work above and below to really, you know, strategically place your collagen? Like say she had a very crepey lower belly, which she doesn't. I would work directly above that area in back and forth circular motions or side to side motions. And I would also work below that area in side to side or circular motions. However, if you're not dealing with a client that your main goal is skin tightening versus my main goal with her is sculpting. So because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work each side of the abdomen evenly, right? So I'm looking over here at my time. Let's say I have 20 minutes on my time. I'm going to watch my timer over there. I'm going to work on each side of the abdomen for 10 minutes. You're not applying a lot of pressure with your radio frequency handle, just enough to make sure that all the probes are working and it doesn't hurt. I'm going to tell you the reason why I like straight line movements with the RF is because I can go back and forth over one area for several runs to make sure that the skin is really taking the heat in that area. So typically, not in demo, when I am working on a client, I am constantly touching and stimulating one side of the body while I'm working. Every stretch on the skin is signaling the lymphatic capillaries to do what? Open. Wouldn't it be great if while I'm breaking down fat in my area, that these capillaries were just open to receive? That's the goal. So at first, these motions will seem awkward because you're going to be focusing a lot on just being able to keep all your damn RF probes touching the skin. I want to talk to you guys too about some very simple things. Your bed needs to be waist high, okay? When you are holding your RF handle, don't hold your RF handle like this. It's going to make your movements awkward and it's going to make it very hard for you to be able to do your turning motions. You see how I've kind of got this placed in my hand here so that I have very free movements with my turns and it's not so awkward and blunt and aggressive in my hand. It's going to make doing this all day much easier on your body. Like you can also kind of pay attention to my arm movements doing this treatment. You really need to try to keep your arm, just like as relaxed as possible. Try to keep your muscles relaxed while you're doing these treatments. It'll just be better on your body overall. And she always goes to sleep whenever I'm doing treatments on her, because she doesn't get loved on a lot. And I have a soft touch. I'm not an aggressive toucher. So I think it relaxes her a lot. She usually ends up going to sleep on my treatment table. So now I'm going to move over here to this other side. Hold on, let me get my cord fixed so that it's not so awkward. A lot of times when I'm working this side over here, I'll have to kind of hold my cord up so that it's not dragging across the client, or kind of tuck it in a way so that it's not just like dragging across the skin. I really, really like doing straight line motions on radio frequency. It helps me to keep track of how evenly I'm distributing my treatment. However, it's totally okay if you do circles. Everybody has their own treatment style. You know, some people prefer to do, you know, circular RF movements. I think probably the reason why I prefer the straight line is because you are more likely to raise your probes from the skin. I think doing circular movements, and circular movements also can be a little bit uncomfortable going across the rib area. When you're doing straight line motions with the probes on the radio frequency too, it gives just a little bit of stretch on the skin while you're dragging it, and just kind of helps keep the lymphatic system stimulated. And you can kind of see the rate of speed that I'm moving. With the RF. I really pay a lot of attention to this area right here, right at the waist, just above the hips and the butts. Because I try to visualize, like, how do I want to shape this body? And so sometimes I imagine, like, whenever I'm doing my treatments, I'm really thinking in my mind, you know, that I'm kind of just like sculpting this away in this area. So that is a good, you know, brief demo of the RF portion on the stomach. So when I finish doing my RF treatment, I am going to do just a little bit of fat manipulation. Fat manipulation is just gentle, soft little pinches on the skin. But why am I doing this? Why would I be pinching it this way? Okay, so we opened the fat cells, right? I described this yesterday. We opened the fat cells, and I had described a balloon that had fluid just gently trickling out of it. And then I had said, but what happens if we just apply a little bit of pressure to the balloon? Not a lot, just enough to help work that fluid out of those fat cells into the extracellular space. They're just little gentle fat pinches. Because it's like I told you guys, your hands are part of the treatment too. And I don't care what you want to call this. This is not lymphatic drainage. This is fat manipulation. This is moving extracellular fluid. This is using your hands as if it were a tool on that machine. I think, does somebody have their mic on, or was somebody trying to say something? I've got my eyes on the chat, guys. If there's anything that anybody needs to say, I've got my eyes on the chat. It is up on the screen. So, and I don't know if you guys can see on this camera too right here, but you should be able to see by the indentions on the skin what the pressure is like. This is not a hard pressure at all. This is gentle, just enough to stretch the skin, just enough to move some fluid from that tissue. And I could sit here, I'm gonna tell you guys something. I could sit here in just this hand motion, just this hand motion alone, if I sat here and I did this repeatedly for 10 to 15 minutes, I could get her up off the bed and this side of her waist would appear more snatched than the other side. So use your hands in between each treatment. If you're doing this, you should be passionate about it. Your work will reflect it. Take your time. Let me find my paper towels. So now we're going to get ready to cavitate. And let me tell you something. This glycerin on the skin with the magnesium additive will turn this aloe gel to water if you do not get it cleaned off the skin really well. So you want to make sure that you get this glycerin off of the skin really well. And as much as I have used on her, as much rubbing as I have done, I may grab one of my baby wipes from over here. I keep baby wipes in the studio too, just in case I need a little extra help getting some of this off the skin. You guys notice whenever I'm rubbing and cleaning that I have a habit of moving in the lymphatic directions also. Okay. And I'm going to change my gloves. Even just the glycerin on my gloves will thin the aloe. Get ready to start this cavitation. Aloe vera, water base for cavitation. And I use a lot. Why do I use a lot of aloe with cavitation? Because the more water base you have, the wetter that the skin is, the better that the sound is going to travel. You'll be able to hear it. You can tell a difference in just what you hear whenever the skin is a bit more wet than when it starts drying out. Unlike the radio frequency head, you do not have to make sure that this head is flat at all times. There will be a lot of times that you will be moving it from its side and the entire transducer will not be touching the skin. You want me to tell you guys a fun little fact that I learned? I'm going to get off subject for a second, but I'm going to tell you guys this so that you know. I was doing some research on ultrasound, and so if we have any radiology people on here, you may already know this. However, it's something that I didn't know. Underneath this transducer right here, there are tiny, 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 tiny quartz crystals. Do you know that quartz is the source of power for all ultrasound? I thought that was pretty amazing. It contains, quartz is unique in a way. Certain stones carry a very specific type of energy that is needed to power certain things. Ultrasound requires this specific energy from quartz. So you can find it in quartz, tourmaline, like if I have any people on here like that are into crystals or whatever, and a few other a few other crystals. I think there's 4 or 5 that can be found in, but guess where else it's found? This is, you can verify this on any science website, any health website, any article you want to pull up. It is also found in our bones and in our DNA. So when you wonder why you touch something and you discharge, you think that that is static electricity. That is not static electricity. That is the actual electrical charge that is very unique and special and only found in very precious crystals on this earth that actually exist in your bones. Also in your DNA. Crazy how a crystal substance can even exist in something like DNA. You know, something that is like basically just like a signature. But so just thought I'd tell you guys about that while we're talking about cavitation. So you're going to want to do full strength on your cavitation. And we're going to make sure, guess what? So what did we talk about? We said that continuous wave treats fat. Pulsed cavitation treats scar tissue. So we're going to make sure that we choose either mode A or our little continuous wave picture. Remember, whenever I drew y'all the picture, I showed y'all the continuous wave, and then I drew the picture of the block to show you the pulsed. So first thing that I'll typically do is get my transducer just good and lubed up so it doesn't skip across the skin. So once I've got it good and lubed up, cavitation movements are very slow moving motions with your cavitation head. And what I'm doing right now, she, bless her heart, she just doesn't have a lot to sandwich. But some of your clients will have fat that can be sandwiched. And if they do, then you can kind of just press it into the transducer like this while you are doing your cavitating. And guess what? Let me show you something. My friend here, I don't think has probably been taking care of her body as good as what she should have, maybe for the past couple of days. So she is typically very, very hydrated. However, if you're not eating right, or if you're not being super kind to your body, even if you're drinking a lot of water, you can sometimes be dehydrated. So a good indicator that your client is not as hydrated as what they should be is as soon as you start cavitating, you will notice, guys, the skin will take this gel and it will drink it, because it's like, I need you. My body needs you. I need that hydration. So typically I don't have to apply a lot of gel to her, but her body is just soaking it. Her body is just soaking it in, which is actually a really good example, because that is something that we probably wouldn't have talked about had that not happened. And it's a really good indicator with your clients. If you notice that, you know, we need to talk to them about their water intake. Your clients will lie to you about their water intake. And that is a good indicator of not proper hydration, is if the body is just really soaking up our conductors. So I guess you guys can tell I'm a fan of the straight line motions. I'm noticing while watching myself on camera that I operate in a straight line a lot. So this is the biggest thing with cavitation. Be slow and intentional with your movements, and also make sure that you are distributing your cavitation evenly throughout your treatment area. Now with cavitation, you know, we're not just going all over the place. Where are we staying? We're staying within the fat. So that's what I'm doing right now. And y'all fix to see me swap to the other side so that you can get a better idea of this cavitation speed. If you can, getting in the habit of moving your hand, touching the client, applying gentle pressure, stretches on the skin while you are working can really, really improve your treatment. Another thing that I love to do is when they have this, and I can't scoop her little belly. She doesn't have one of those little lower bellies, but I love it when they have that little lower belly because I just scoop it up. I just scoop it up in my hand and I work that cavitation head on that little fat roll. Can you guys tell, like, I love my job. I absolutely love my job. If y'all knew the things that go through my mind while I'm doing body contouring treatments, you would think I was a weirdo. I talk bad to the fat in my hand. I talk bad to the fat in my head. I'll be like, son of a bitch. Get out of this body. So this is your feet. You have a much better view from this side here. You guys can see, you know, this moves. Okay, so I want you to imagine something. We know how cavitation works now, right, guys? You better know. You better know how it works. We spend a whole lot of time on theory. So we know that it works by using sound waves to break the fat, okay? So we're moving fast. We're getting it. So we have 1/16 of a second, boom, to break that fat cell. That is not going to work, all right? We need to give cavitation some time to do its process. Casey wants to know, how long would you do cavitation? So my cavitation sessions are typically like on an average client. And when I say on an average client, I'm talking, okay, so we've got 2 or 3 inches of body fat. My cavitation sessions are going to be about 20 minutes. But listen, if I have a client that has a very thick mass, a very thick, hard feeling, I can grab it, but it's hard. And it feels just like rubber. I'm going to get so aggressive with them on the cavitation. I may do a solid 40 minutes of nothing but cavitation on them. If I think that the fat needs it, and when it's that hard, when the fat is that hard, you need to hit it heavy with the cavitation. I mean, make it submit when you are working that fat and you are using your hands. After you are about 20 minutes into that cavitation session, you are going to start feeling that fat soften up. You're gonna feel it soften up, and sometimes you're going to be working with a client who actually has some very old scar tissue that has built up in areas. And I have this little thing that I love to do to old scar tissue. It's so satisfying. It's actually, well, I guess some people call it a scar tissue massage. I learned it after my husband's surgeries, how you can break up scar tissue. So how you can help to break up scar tissue. And I'm talking about new scar tissue. I'm talking about scar tissue, you know, like let's say that we have a mom that comes in and she's had multiple C-sections and she's got this little lower belly pouch right here. And we worked and worked and worked and we've gotten all that fat off, but there's still like this little hump there, like this little lip that she absolutely hates. A lot of times that's scar tissue. So what you can do is, okay, so I want you guys to look at my thumbs right here. Let's imagine that this is the little lip. So I love to take my thumbs and just apply a little bit of pressure back and forth over that scar and up and down motions. And guess what I can feel in there? I can feel like these little, like tough little spots that feels like they're full of rocks. And, you know, I'll kind of work this back and forth, up and down, but guess what? Then we move side to side, side to side. And I will go side to side and up and down, up and down, up and down, side to side. You know what I feel under my fingers after doing that for a little bit? I can feel that scar tissue breaking down. And eventually, if I just keep on utilizing my vacuum therapy in combination with my little magic fingers here, up and down, up and down, up and down, side to side. So just any general knowledge on scar tissue massage for people that have had surgery, or for, you know, people that have had to do scar tissue massages for family members. One thing that they will always tell you is the up and down and side to side motion is very important. Vibration is also really, really, really good for scar tissue. So, you know, these little mini little vibration things, we had one to, it was like a little vibration massager to massage scar tissue on my husband. So once we finish our cavitation session and we've really, really, really just loved on our client, I hope you guys were watching my hand motions with cavitation. You know, I was just working the body on one side the entire time that I'm working the cavitation head on the other side. Now I'm just going to do some more fat manipulation in the area. So work my hands, work my hands. Be gentle, not aggressive. So work this side over here and everywhere that I cavitated. You know what I imagine in my mind while I'm doing this? I imagine that these fat cells are open. I'm just giving them this little sweep of pressure. I'm just applying on them, like, get out of there. It's like I'm sweeping it towards a dustpan. If you're wondering where the dustpan is, it's the groin, okay? Because here is our imaginary line. Here's our imaginary line. This is where the treatment direction changes as far as the direction that we move fluid. So we have this imaginary line right here. So all of this this goes towards the armpit. This goes up. This goes towards the armpit. But guess what? Below the line here, this goes down. This goes down. This comes in and down, down. We're directing towards the groin. All right. We're fixing to get ready to do this vacuum. And I want to train you guys how to do the vacuum the way I do it. Okay. I do my vacuum with a, do you guys remember how we were doing the vacuum on the chin, right? I had it set to a solid suction with no release. And I popped the vacuum myself. That's how I want to teach you guys how to do your vacuum. Typically, the part of treatment where you start to see the body change, it's while you're operating the vacuum. It's my favorite part of treatment. I could operate the vacuum all day long and nothing else. Is there a remedy for what is suspected to be trapped fluid? The surgery was about 8 years ago. So, okay, so let me ask you this. Are we talking about trapped fluid or are we talking about a lipoma? Because you will be able to tell in the way it feels. So when we say trapped fluid, where is the fluid trapped? And what does it look like? I'll be watching in the comments while you respond. Okay, so I am going to my vacuum setting. The first thing that I'm going to do, so many people don't know this. Your suction strength has nothing to do with anything that is on the face of any machine. One thing that every machine has in common is your suction strength is operated, or it's located in a completely different area. There's a little silver knob on the side of this machine here. It's turned all the way down right now. So you have the radio frequency option on your vacuum. You can use the radio frequency with your vacuum, or you can turn the radio frequency off if you feel like they're like at their max RF time. You know, like if the skin has gotten really pink, you can turn the RF off. So the RF and the vacuum work together. It's totally up to you if you want to leave the RF on or off. It will all depend on your treatment, how much RF time you've given your client. If you've done a very aggressive RF treatment, you may want to leave the RF off. My RF for this demo is going to be on. In the apron, it's squishy. Well, she may have some scar tissue that is preventing that from exiting the area. I suggest a lot of vacuum therapy on that area. It will help to not only break up scar tissue, but move the fluid. That would be my suggestion. Before you try to break down any fat in that area, I would work vacuum therapy. And I'll actually show you an example with what we're fixing to do right now. So first thing I did is turn my strength all the way down. What you should feel on your vacuum is you should feel it grab, but it shouldn't try to suck the whole stomach up. Like you should be able to move the handle freely if you put some speed behind it. Hold on, guys, I gotta get my oil. My oil's over here. You always use oil for the vacuum, okay? We use oil for the vacuum because glycerin and ultrasound gel or aloe will clog your vacuum. So all right. So I've got her good and lubed up here. I'm gonna get these pants down just a little bit lower now because I'm really gonna want to start pushing some of this as close to this groin area here as I can. All right. Vacuum. we're going to turn it on just solid suction. And what I'm doing right now is I'm testing to see how does the suction feel whenever I put my hand on it. So I can feel a little bit of suction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on the skin. One thing that is very important, you must move your vacuum quickly. If you are going to use a scraping method to clean up your area, which is the method I'm teaching you, because it's going to be the most effective method, and it's also going to help you with your cellulite treatment. Numbers, please. Helena, what are you wanting to know the numbers on? On the suction, you are just going to have to, what you're going to have to do, it's going to be different for every client. You're going to have to turn that knob, you're going to turn that knob all the way down. The numbers that you are speaking of on the face of your machine is your suction time and your release time. What I'm showing you right now is just straight solid suction. So I have my vacuum suction time set to 0.9, but it wouldn't matter if I had it set to 0.1 because there's no release set. So it's going to suck solid no matter what. So my strength, I turned my silver knob all the way down, okay? And I very slowly turned it up until I felt it just barely grab in the palm of my hand. Now I'm fixing to like attach it to my client's skin and make sure that it's not too aggressive of a suction. Also on the machine demos, on all of the machines, one of the most in-depth discussions that I have in the machine demos are on the vacuum, okay? I go through suction times, releases, how to adjust the suction, how to change the filters in the vacuums. All of these things I cover in depth on the machine demos. Every single person in class will need to watch these machine demos unless you are already very, very familiar with the way that your machine works. So, okay, I want to show you guys something. Watch this. All right. You see how it's just not even grabbing the skin at all? Take a look at that camera right there. You can see, I mean, it's not even grabbing it at all. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit, okay? Watch this camera right here. Okay, all right, take a look. It's grabbing just a little, you see that? It's grabbing just a little bit, just barely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it up just a tad bit more, and this is probably going to be my sweet spot. Oh, you hear that? This is perfect. Okay. All right, now I want to tell you guys something. The speed that you move your vacuum is very important. Why? Let me show you something. Let me show you this. The suction becomes much more aggressive the slower that you move it. You don't need to do that. You need to move your vacuum quickly. Imagine it is a broom, okay? I move my vacuum very quickly in treatment, and I try to keep my hand near the stopping point of my vacuum in case I need to use my hand to help release. This is not an aggressive suction at all. This is a suction that could be used on a baby. What do you guys think I'm doing right now from these hips over here? You remember when we were talking about the areas of the body that aren't very populated with lymphatic vessels and capillaries? What do you think I'm doing? I'm getting all this extracellular fluid over here. I'm bringing it closer to this lymphatic portal that's right here. Okay, I'm following my motions on my vacuum chart. When we're coming from the hips, we're coming in this direction here. And then guess what? I'm going to bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. This is just like a little broom. Everybody overthinks the vacuum. They make it really difficult. People are trying to use their vacuum too aggressively, or they're moving it too slowly. Because this is requiring zero effort for me to release this vacuum, but I can definitely feel the suction. Anything that is in the tissue, any fluid, it's being moved to these lymphatic locations. And the stretching motion on the skin is signaling the capillaries to open to receive fluid. Same thing over here. Kim has to pee. I can feel her bladder. Okay. Guys, I want you doing this with your clients, depending on their size. This vacuum is magic. And I want you to be so comfortable with it that you move it just like this. Use this vacuum properly. It helps make your treatment amazing. Okay, all right, now listen to me. When we're working these areas up here, over the ribs, hey, be gentle with your clients. That's a thin area over these ribs here, okay? So don't be trying to be all Speedy Gonzalez over those ribs. You need to be gentle. Quick but soft. If you want to create, you know, we were talking about how the lymphatic system loves pumping. Well, guess what? Every time we do this, you want to get this vacuum cleaner. You want to get this body vacuum pumping. Do this repeatedly over these highly populated lymphatic areas here. This is a huge area right here, guys. Look at your lymphatic chart of the lymphatic system and think about how many lymphatic vessels and lymph nodes are in this area right here. I actually noticed whenever we were outside, I was looking at Kim's tummy, and I noticed that she did have a little bit of a fluid on her, which makes sense now that I felt her little, where's that little lymph node at that I felt over there? It is. But I really can't feel her lymph nodes often. And a lot of times you can't if they're not full. But if you can feel a full lymph node, usually it kind of explains why you see a little bit of fluid. If one lymph node's full, you know, your system's just moving a little slow. Either that or you're fighting a sickness maybe that you don't know about. Okay. Now, we are at the end of the stomach demo. Guys, listen. S-shape users, okay? I want to tell you, the RF and the cavitation, you see me doing the RF and the cavitation both in straight line movements. The rate of speed that I moved my cavitation handle, you can, how long do you do vacuum? Girl, it's going to be anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the client. It's going to depend on the client, how much fluid they have on, how big they are, how big the area is. But you need to do it for like a minimum of 5 minutes. You can do it up to 10 minutes. So hell, you can do it longer than that. You can do it 15 minutes if you want to. If you feel like that it's, you know, you can really see that it's moving some fluid out, stay with it, you know. But on the S-shape, knowing what I know about the S-shape and how long it takes the RF to heat, I'm going to tell you guys, if you are using the cavitation and the RF handle together in one treatment, even though it's really hard to perfect that conductor, use that for at least, use it for 30 minutes on the S-shape. If you're going to run the RF and the cavitation together, use it for 30 minutes. And I'm going to tell you something. Set your RF to pro mode so that your RF is only active whenever it's in contact with skin, because you're going to have to use aloe as your conductor for the cavitation in combination with the RF. It will conduct, it's just going to take a little bit longer to get the skin warm because of the aloe's cooling effect. So do it for 30 minutes. However, that aloe is going to pop on that radio frequency after it gets warmed up. If you want to prevent that, I'm going to show you guys a little trick that I would do whenever I have a client and I was using my S-shape and I did not want to scare them, because I know and realize that my conductor options are not perfect. And at some point when my RF gets to temperature, it's going to start trying to make that aloe pop and sizzle. Hold on, guys. My cord is all crazy here. Let me get it. So what I do is when I have my aloe on the skin, I'm doing my cavitation and my RF with my S-shape. Just know, oh baby, it's just cold. I don't even have it on. Just know that when I'm working my handle, at all times is this handle pressed firmly to the skin. And the reason why is because that pop is not going to happen until I raise it from the skin. So you know what I do? Like, let me show you on this side over here. So my little chuck pad, you know, whenever I'm working the skin with my S-shape, and this is about the speed that I move with my S-shape. So when I'm working the skin, when it's time for me to come off the skin for some reason, because I'm going to do like some hand rubbing motions or something, first thing I do is I push this baby down on my chuck like this and I twist it to get that damn aloe off of it so it don't start popping and smoking from it, because there's no way to prevent it. There's absolutely no way. The only way that you can prevent it is if you used glycerin for your treatment. But guess what? If you use glycerin, then your cavitation ain't going to be worth crap. So you just got to use the aloe, okay? And you're just going to have to make sure that you know, get it down somewhere. Just don't take it off the skin while you're working. Keep it pushed to the skin. As long as you do that, you're not going to have to worry about the pop until you remove it. And if you'll go straight down to this chuck pad and just plant your handle there on the chuck pad, kind of twist it, reach over and turn that shit off so that your client doesn't see, okay? Yes, that's correct. This is only for the S shape. Guys, I'm only talking about the S shape. Like the people that use, you know, the RF and cavitation in one head. So the pink and white machine is going to operate the exact same way as my blue and white machine. You know, we're doing the cavitation separate, the radio frequency separate. I do have a suggestion though. I do have a suggestion on the pink and white machine, because I know that we have some pink and white machine users here. You know what I found on the little pink and white machine with your RF? I swear, this RF heats up faster than this one. This little four prong RF right here heats up faster than this one. This little baby right here is a beast. This is the one that I did my testing with. And I mean, it's plenty big enough to work any area that you want to. But this is the one that I did my testing with. Guys, you know, this little damn pink and white machine got the treatment area to 104 degrees in 4 minutes. Almost as fast as my blue and white machine. And then this expensive S shape over here took 10 minutes. And I know that's not just my S shape, because other people have told me the same thing. But I love my S shape for the electroporation. There are many things I love about my S shape, okay? I'm not getting rid of the machine. I'm not an S shape hater. I just prefer my cavitation. I prefer my cavitation and my RF on this machine. I'm not gonna lie, I don't love the cavitation and RF on that machine in comparison with mine. So this is what we're gonna do. We are fixing to, so the next demo that you guys are gonna get is going to be cellulite demo. I want to show you guys how to work on the leg sum with the machine and doing cellulite. And I'm also going to talk to you guys about some of the, you know, the things that I combine in, like with my cellulite treatments, that are really helpful for me. Because most of the time, what you're going to be working on the legs is going to be mainly cellulite or the fat pads on the insides of the thighs here. Right here where it meets the tootie, where they like kind of protrude and pop out a little bit. You're going to be working on those. And we're going to pretend that Kim has those so that I can talk to you guys about exactly how we would treat that. While I'm thinking on this, I want to tell y'all something. You are going to see a few things looking at clients. Do you end the vacuum with the pumping motion? Yeah, I think I do. A few little pumps. I mean, it's not right or wrong. I mean, you can either end it with a long stroke or, you know, little pumping motions. Either one, it's going to be your preference. Neither one of those are wrong. As long as you have cleaned your area and you're moving the fluid, you're not being too aggressive, you did a great job. On the tummy, this is super important. So there's such a thing as abdominal separation, okay? This is where the muscles in the tummy separate, and it can often make the tummy look very like protrude, like right here, like around the belly button. And a lot of times you can see a little cup at the top of the belly button where it kind of dips in almost like a little soup bowl. That is a really good indicator of abdominal separation. Another way to check and see if your client has abdominal separation, which is the muscle separation. Absolutely. Yes, that's one thing. So I'm going to tell you, let me finish discussing this abdominal separation topic, and I'm going to address this question directly. So abdominal separation is where the muscles in the stomach separate either through trauma, extreme weight, or pregnancy, things like that. So when we have our client on the bed, if you want to know if the client has abdominal separation, which is not something that we can correct, you will have them come into a half crunch position. Kim, come on up into a half crunch position for me. Okay, so half crunch position, the core will be engaged. What you will do is you will take your thumbs and you will run down the muscles right here down the center in a straight line above the belly button to feel for any separation in the muscle. And you'll know it because your thumbs will dip into it. Like you'll feel it. And she even has a tiny, right here. You want to feel it? Want to feel it, Mama? All right. Rub your finger right here. Hey. Yeah, you feel it right there. Yeah. So it's going to feel like a little tiny. So a tiny little, it's not anything. Look. So she didn't, I have never even, I don't offer either one of those treatments, Helena. So there's just not a lot that I can tell you about them. So that is how you're going to identify abdominal separation, okay? So there's not anything that we can do to help them with that. You know, waist training will help, you know, take some of that stress off of the muscles, but you know, that is not going to be in our scope of practice. We can't do anything. Sometimes that requires surgical intervention. Sometimes it doesn't. You can really focus on a lot of times people are doing the wrong exercises to correct abdominal separation. They're actually making it worse. Like planking and sit-ups are two of the worst things that you can do for abdominal separation. So it's just something that they need to research, they need to read about. There's lots of exercises they can do to improve it, but there's nothing that we can do in our studio to improve it unless you offer. I have read and heard that some cases of abdominal separation can be helped with M-Sculpt, okay? That's not something that I offer here. It's not something that I'm knowledgeable on. I'm just letting you know that. A student asked, after all these steps that you showed us, can we add virtual mesotherapy and wood therapy to the stomach? Okay, so yes, you can definitely end a body contouring session with wood therapy if you feel like it will be beneficial. I'm going to tell you guys just straight up, I never treat the back with my machine. I don't. The reason why I don't is because wood therapy is the most effective, most visually pleasing treatment you can do on the back. It is the most effective. Wood is the only treatment that I do on the back. You guys are learning wood. I'm going to show you how to treat the back area with your wood. So when we're doing virtual mesotherapy add-on, because virtual mesotherapy does always come at the very end of the treatment. It's always the very last step. So typically the stomach is not a place that I introduce virtual mesotherapy unless they have very, very crepey, super wrinkly skin, and I am applying a skin tightening protocol to that area. My chin treatments after the vacuum portion on chins, yes, virtual meso every time a lipolytic is used on that area to help with the fat breakdown. So I also use virtual mesotherapy on my butt treatments and on my cellulite treatments. I would encourage any of you guys who have not taken the virtual mesotherapy course. It will be extremely beneficial to your business if you have an electroporation device. Okay, if you have an S-shape, then you have an electroporation device. Okay, because it's on the machine. So I highly recommend learning about that treatment. There is a lot of extremely in-depth information on the course, including Well, you know what, you guys, y'all have my book. So you can go to the virtual mesotherapy section in the book and you can see that there is like an entire like recipe book protocol that I built for every area of the body and issue that could possibly exist, where I tell you exactly what serum to use and in what order and how much. And it's just, I really handed you guys, you know, something that I've just never found anywhere else. You know, in no training ever has something like that been handed to me. So virtual mesotherapy is definitely a good add-on to the services. So we are going to close the stomach demo. We are going to take a quick break, and then we are going to come back for cellulite. We're going to do a cellulite demo. All right. So I will see you guys back here in about 10-15 minutes. Hold on, Kim, I've got to kill both of these.